Hi, my name is Jeff, and we're here today to talk about the most important skill for lifelong, long-term weight loss and wellness. So that's what I consider myself to be as a sort of an expert on lifelong. Not that I've lived the whole life time, but for the last 20 years, I've been, I lost weight. Oh, probably 25 years now. Lost weight, 30 kilos, and then have kept it off. Um, Struggled with it, obviously, and that's the thing that is the most fascinating thing to me whenever I'm helping people lose weight. I'm a trainer, uh, and now a therapist as well. I do a variety of things, but those are the things I think in the end which are the most relevant is learning how to train, learning how to eat, learning how to do all those. But then what's so much more important is the mind. And this is all of what I said just then was kind of a roundabout way of getting to the point of saying that it's important to really consider the psychological aspect of change, changing your behavior. That's the thing. People think about it as changing your weight. It feels like such a physical thing, of course. What am I going to eat? How am I going to train? What exercises am I going to do? How often am I going to do it? What's the program? There's so much thinking and thought and energy goes into trying to find the right program, the right food. It all feels like it's all in the physical world. But really, keeping it up, keeping it off is a psychological thing. Really, the weight loss happens through what you do. Well, I mean, this is the other thing, right? It's actually got a lot more to do with what you don't do than what you do do. When you lose weight, it's not eating that makes you lose weight. You know, I mean, and that's the biggest thing. And then obviously you need to do more exercise, but I guess it's no, stop lazing around. Don't do nothing. We are designed to move. Our bodies are meant to move. When you sit around too much, your body gets sore. You just start getting stagnant, and everything just slows down. You feel lazy, and it's like everything gets worse when when you slow down. We're meant to move. So I think that sitting still. I mean, like meditation. You think about that. That's the hardest thing in the world, to just stop and do nothing and not think and do absolutely nothing. So doing nothing is actually difficult. So that's the thing. How do you get yourself to do less? Right? You got to be able to manage your mind. I mean, and again, mentioned meditation. It's a, you know, I guess it's an active process too. It feels like it's not an active process, but it is. You got to sit there, keep yourself there. There's such an impulse to get up and go and do something else. So a bit off track there, but I suppose maybe not. I guess because I mean, again, the point is that to keep your weight off. I mean, that's the title of this video, or to achieve a long term, lifelong leanness. To stay lean is going to require you to have that ability to manage yourself, manage your own mind, manage your own behavior, manage yourself from eating too much, from indulging too much, indulging in laziness, indulging in overeating. So that isn't actually the skill I wanted to talk about. I suppose I just got lost there on a bit of a rant, but this is all still relevant, right? What I wanted to say was actually that we always get off track. The fact is, no one has started a program. I don't know anyone who started a diet and then, or an exercise program, and then 20 years later is doing the exact same thing, right? They're not. It just. I've never done it. I mean, I haven't lived, 40. I've been, I'm 38 now, but um, you know, it's like I'll have to do this till the day I die. Everyone needs to do this stuff till the day they die. So, Um, but I can, based on over 2 decades now of doing it myself and helping many many people go through it and hearing their stories. So I've heard the stories of so many people who've done it for decades. Have struggled with this stuff for decades. So I can put together some things. Um, you know, all the lives that I've heard and contributed to as well. Over the time of my time, I've helped people stick with go up and down over the years, and I guess again that's the point I'm trying to get to is this idea that it's nothing happens in a straight line. No progress does not happen. Someone starts something and then they never ever stop. It has to evolve too. I mean, our bodies evolve, our metabolisms evolve, our lifestyles. I mean, and this is the biggest thing. Right? This is what I'm getting to is it's not just about the physical stuff. It's not just about the exercise, how what your exercise routine needs to change, your eating routine needs to change. Um, so that it continues to be effective in terms of sort of uh, keeping you lean and keeping you healthy. I mean, although it does, but the biggest factor that just isn't really talked about or recognized enough is just how does it fit into your lifestyle? How your evolving lifestyle? How do you keep your behaviors as your life changes, as things change in your life? And this is the thing. After all that, I'll get to the point I actually wanted to make in the first place, which was that it's your ability to get yourself back on track. That's really, in the end, the key skill for lifelong, long term weight loss and wellness, managing it, maintaining it, keeping it. Because the fact is, there are a handful of things that typically people fall off the wagon in their health behaviors and health journey. There's, a big thing is people going on holidays, uh, people uh, changing job, or their job itself gets really, really busy. They get sick. These are the big ones. Changing relationship, moving house, moving job. So those sorts of things, they're massive disruptors to your life, and and they shift your focus and your energy. We only have a limited amount of energy that we can give to various things, to our friends and family and work and health. Yeah, and those are probably the four main ones. So and you just can't contribute 100% of your energy to all of them. Obviously, and you can't even really. To be fair, you can't even give if say the four categories. If it was 4%, friends, family, health, and work, right? Yeah, on it like I heard that put together as a framework like that actually is four, but you know I actually think, and maybe this course falls under the family category, but I think your intimate relationship, your significant relationship, probably even deserves its own category. I might even make it a fifth, because that does require a huge amount of attention. It requires a huge amount of energy and attention, and that and it dictates a lot of maybe how much energy you can put into the other ones. To feel loved and secure in your primary relationship, that'll drain the energy out of all of them. If that's not doing well, you just hard to put any energy into any of them. Uh, so anyway, so we have limited energy, and we have to invest it in these things, and at times, say for example, you lose your job, or you just decide to move jobs. So that is now you're having to travel to a new location. You're having to So this takes more time and more routine. You're going to get to know new people, know new work protocols, and all these things are going to require. It's not on autopilot yet, so it's going to require more energy, more investment of concentration and time and focus. So that at that time, it's going to take away from the other areas of your life, and I could say this at this point or later, but here I'll just say, look, and at that point, you cannot let go of all those other things. You cannot let go of, as in you can't just dump your family, your friends, your partner, and just to focus on work. If you give it zero attention and zero energy, then it just starts to wither away. And the health one is one that people just they it's notorious for that. Is people just dumping it all together. Oh, I'll get back to it when I can, or got no time, no energy, can't do it. This is the worst thing you can do is just give it up completely. The fact is, that work situation at the time in that example is it's going to require more attention, and you're not going to be able to just put as much energy and focus and enthusiasm into your health journey and your health goals. But yeah, it's just so difficult to get it started again once you've dumped it all together, right? But this is the thing as well. If you want to achieve those things, you're going to have to decide when you're going to reinvest back into those other areas, and in this case, the health. Uh, and when you do, it's difficult to do that. Once people, it's like, okay, so let's change example to, say, a holiday. People go on holidays, they become completely derailed in what they're doing. Now they're drinking for weeks or whatever. Um, they've been indulging and having fun, in which you should. But then getting back on track and getting back into it can sometimes be a bit of a drag, and you've lost momentum, and plugging yourself back in. This can be the biggest problem. Just like that, people have tried over and over and over to lose weight, or they get started, they're going well, everything's they're killing it, they're coming down, but then they come back and it's just like, oh, they just lost the mojo. So plugging yourself back in, having a process for doing that, being good at that, being good at plugging yourself back in, because so many people, you think about it, there's so many people have lost weight, lost 5 or 10 kilos, five to 10 times, right? So, if you lost 5 kilos 10 times, you lost 2 kilos. So it's if you just be able to just you know clip out the in betweens, then they definitely would have they lost maybe more than half of their body weight. So it's taking those breaks that and when is it that someone gets back into it? Usually is when they're just in so much pain. It's so they usually put on way more weight, than they even had originally, and they're just depressed about it, and they're just hating it. They're hating their lives. They're ashamed of it. They're in their body pain, and self-esteem's in the gutter. And then finally, okay, I'll get started again. And if you're always just being kicked around by how terrible you feel, that's the only thing that gets you back into it. That's a miserable way to live, and you're just never going to get ahead. You're never going to get there, and you're not going to be able to keep it. So expecting that you will fall off track is a good healthy expectation to have, because that's just how it is. Life changes, things change over a long enough timeline. Think about it. You're not doing the same things in your 20s as you are in your 50s. So yeah, like things are going to change. Your lifestyle is going to change. Your routine is going to change, and you have to um, be able to plug yourself back into what you're doing, into it. Otherwise, that's the thing. You get lean for a year, or you get lean for a little short period of time, and then it all just falls away. And then 10 years later, you know you you're overweight and uncomfortable again, and then none of it matters unless you keep it up. Really, you don't want being lean to just have been some memory that you had that was good. I was great when I had those couple of years there where I felt good. Maintenance is the only thing that matters, really, in my mind. Like, Well, when I ever talk to people about when I talk to them about like someone asks me, "Oh, is this a good program? Is this a good idea?" Now, the only thing I really think about is I'm like, "Well, are you going to be is this going to encourage you to keep going? Is this going to be, uh, or is this going to overwhelm you and cause you to quit and then not want to start again in a couple of years?" The only things that matter are the things that encourage you to stay in the game. And that's different for everyone. That's not a blank thing. Some people love measuring and tracking and doing all those things. I think everyone should do that to some degree. Some people like it to a higher degree. Some hate it. Um, the tracking is important just because it just keeps your awareness on it. You can't change something you're not aware of. You're not paying attention to. But it's all part of it, right? Awareness is another one of those skills that you need for lifelong weight loss. And you can't if you switch off, you stop paying attention. You don't notice when you start derailing. If you can't pay attention to what's going on inside of you and what's going on in your life and how to fit it all in, you're not going to keep it up. Saying it's a psychological game. So the ability to get yourself back on track. That's what I wanted to say in the video. That's what the title is relevant to. And I think that hopefully there's some gems in there as well about different other things. But yeah, like the fact is, what happens? You're going to go off track. Expect it. Be prepared for it, but know how to get yourself back on track. Don't wait until you're a mess before you get back into it. Can't tell you that's how much that is the most common way that people don't reach their goals. Just getting derailed by something extremely predictable, and they just never get back on the wagon. You know. Yeah, and this I guess it goes into one of the. Someone asked me the other day. Someone said, "Oh, who's your best result? What's the most amount of weight you've seen someone lose?" Or well, no, sorry. What she said was, "What's your best success story?" And I'll be honest, I found it hard to answer because in the end, I said to her, "Look, I said I can point to people I've seen lose 30 and 40 kilos, 50 kilos even. 61 was one of them actually, but some of the best results, I don't haven't like, seeing them last is not something that you see very often. So, they'll lose a bunch and then they'll put some back on and maybe they stabilize around there, and then that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, stabilizing somewhere that you're comfortable with, but that's the thing, I think they probably wanted to keep that extra off. Um, but then I've seen them come and lose it again, actually, so and then they go back and forth. It's this yo-yo, and that's the thing I always sort of felt early on that it was a failure for them to put it back on, and that it wasn't really a success story. But I think in the end, that is the success story. Is someone who oscillates between here and here. And they successfully keep it there. That's the journey. That is the journey. It doesn't because this is the thing. It doesn't end. Weight management never ends. Health management never ends till the day you die. You don't get to a certain point and you can just eat cake and lollies for the rest of your life, and that's fine, and it'll have no impact. Of course, it will. Maybe some people just don't care and they're just ready to die, so they just want to eat as much cake and lollies so they can go out with a bang. But Yeah. I mean, the other reason it was hard to answer the question too was because, you know, because I think primarily in the long term, the idea that, you know, what's, you know, what's the best success story you've had? I'm like, to me, it's like the story isn't over. Like I've got people currently now who I'm working with who are, who've lost 20 kilos and doing extremely well. But I don't feel inspired to celebrate that too much because it's we're not done, and it's not because there's a goalpost that needs to be achieved that's better than that. And it's the hard thing. It's the the goal is to be in the process of doing it. Is to is like I said, the goal is just someone who is actively and successfully engaged in the maintenance of a great weight. Of where they want to be. It's are you in the process of it? You know, so if I feel that someone is enjoying their lifestyle and are able to actively engage and re-engage in their health project with little difficulty, that's a success. Someone who can plug in and out, because this is the thing. You're not going to be perfect forever. I mean, perfectly uh, eating the perfect diet forever and a day. It's you're gonna and you should indulge. I mean, part of what's fun in life is food. That we should enjoy. But the issue is if you enjoy and it derails you completely and you spend 2 years trying to get back on track, or 5 years or whatever. That wasn't very good then. So, yeah, I think the ability to indulge and then re-engage, indulge without being derailed. Or even if you do get derailed, how do you get back on? You re-rail. How do you do that after a derail? Well, that was my thought for the day. Uh, didn't have anyone jump on the line, but if you got something out of that, let me know. Comment down below and enjoy your day and re-engage.